Joining us now live, Barbara Cosgriff with her closing keynote address entitled Building and Enabling Our Cyber Workforce. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, yes. You're good.
Okay. So I think you did me more justice with your introduction. The only thing I have to add is that I have 3 children, 2 grandchildren, a dog, a cat, and 1 husband. I'm limiting myself there. So thank you so much, GRIMM, for inviting me to as a keynote speaker here. Really appreciate it. I will say, however, it's kind of like Morgan was saying earlier, that when you come to a big security gathering, you start to get a little intimidated at the talent that you see here. So great speakers, amazing job, great GrimmCon. So my presentation is about building and enabling our cybersecurity workforce. I'm not sure if most of you know, but in 2021, May of 2021, Biden signed an executive order to improve our nation's cybersecurity. That was followed by requirements for NIST, for CISA, for OMB, and an OMB memo came out last year in September with the specifics of anyone selling to the federal government, DoD or other. If you're selling to any federal agency, then you have to provide an attestation, a security attestation for your software development lifecycle, among other things. And those dates were originally set for that attestation to be critical software in June, and then non-critical software in September. Seems like those things are going to slip, but it's coming. So in all the pressures that we've had in cybersecurity, with respect to cybersecurity, it seems to be inevitable that this was going to come about. So let's talk briefly about the state of cybersecurity from a security practitioner's perspective. The most significant threats that face our organizations today, any element, is the evolution of intelligent systems. The fact that the evolution of intelligent systems have increased the attack surfaces of everything exponentially. Software-defined everything increases the risk associated with all of our 16 critical infrastructures. And cyber attacks have been the concept of attacking over cyber has been adopted by nation states as well as organized crime groups. For instance, the cyber attacks on aviation industry alone, there were 15 different cyber attacks on the US aviation industry in 2022. That was listed from January to November, so I guess they gave us the holidays off in November. So what does this mean? This means that we have to increase our cybersecurity capabilities, and to do that, we have to build on and enable our cybersecurity workforce. So we'll start with building that workforce. So the challenges with building a cybersecurity workforce center around the skills gap in the cybersecurity industry to begin with, particularly from a software perspective. Traditional cybersecurity training and education methods are not enough to cover the masses, and the lack of accessibility, and opportunity for various reasons also limit us reaching the masses. So we don't have enough. Our ratio right now, according to, excuse me, According to Cron, our ratio for supply and demand across the US, the majority of states that have a supply demand ratio of 0.85 or less. Some of them are as low as 0.62. At the rate we're going, we're not going to fill that gap, and we're not going to meet what we need to meet. So there's a lot of programs that are going on. CISA has a program to increase the funding, increase the salary for cybersecurity. ISC Squared has offered to train, to certify 1 million people over the next couple of years. There are a lot of things going on, but it seems like the path to get us there, just training people, or the idea of training people or hiring people, is just not reachable. And so what do we do for cybersecurity workforce development? So the first thing we have to do is we need to change the workforce development styles. They're changing, and companies that are hiring or managers that are hiring need to understand that there are more ways than going to college for 4 years and coming back and training. So they need to increase the acceptance of cohort-style training. We need to go back to and resurrect the concept of apprenticeship and pull that into the cybersecurity field. Not everybody can or wants to go to college. And sometimes you can benefit by training and paying them once they are trained on the job. The other one is there's been a big rise in train now and pay when you hire. There are organizations where you can go to and train, and there are companies that are hiring from those, not requiring a certain college, not requiring a certain degree. So changing up that mindset to ensure that we build our software or cybersecurity workforce. Leverage AI driven workforce development. I know that's a huge topic right now, good and bad. However, we can make some quick wins and small gains by leveraging, even if it is developed inside that training, putting it into an AI system and allowing newcomers to come in, and they have certain questions, running it through a system that's been built and trained internally, helps you to turn around your people quicker, helps to make them more effective quicker. We need to research, we need to enable teams with research capabilities. Setting up a team that has 100% of their time focused on doing the work, without having time or having someone who's there to do the research to find out, yes, these are the top 10, these are the top API attacks, things like that. It's still important that you have research to find out for your area, for your market, for your capabilities, what are those attacks, so you can make it more efficient. So enable research. The other thing is to search non-traditional paths. We have a shortage of cybersecurity workers, but we also have, in a lot of areas in the US, people that are overworked and underpaid. We have areas where there's not a significant amount of, or there's a significant amount of unskilled jobs available. And a significant amount of people that only meet that. So going and searching in those areas and partnering with those groups in those areas. For instance, where I'm from in Oakland, California, there's a group called Oakland Leaf, and they work from when they're in kindergarten until they go to college. The goal is to get everyone through the pipeline into college. So pairing with those groups, you're going to find a lot of motivated people to meet your needs. The idea is to go outside of there. So reaching out to HBCUs or other organizations or colleges that are normally not reached, reaching out to those, looking for those on the spectrum. There's something that's like 80% of individuals on the autism spectrum, even those that are high functioning, are jobless after 25. So but we've also proven that they do well in tech. So looking for those on the spectrum, reaching out to those groups, making them feel welcome, reaching out to reservations, going out to people who are self-taught. Those are all non-traditional search paths that we need to make. We don't have enough people in the pipeline, so we have to start getting others into the pipeline to make that available. So now we have these ideas of building our workforce, bringing in our workforce, but what about, we still need those people that are highly skilled. And I heard Caroline Wong talk about the number of people who were unhappy, the number of people who were stressed, who had planned to leave their job in the cybersecurity area. I think that was probably not surprising to most of you that work in, particularly if you work internal. So how do we fix that? We enable them and make their lives easier. We provide ongoing training and development opportunities. We offer mentorship. We create learning and collaboration. We value their domain knowledge. I think I heard them discussing about whether a person is being heard. We value them. We ensure that people are being heard. We encourage diversity and inclusion in your cybersecurity team, because diversity comes along with diversity goes diversity of thought. So that's very important. And we make sure that we don't stop, the DEI doesn't stop at diversity. The equity and inclusion is so important to maintain those people. And not just equity and inclusion between race or gender, but between the security people who oftentimes have to give the bad news, and the developers, the salespeople, the product managers, who oftentimes are the ones that are recognized after sales. So we work to make sure that we are building a fully integrated workforce. I remember I heard Morgan talking about kind of being in close teams for things that are like SOC, and there's a lot of different things that are like that. So building that into our organization is important if we're going to attack this cyber problem. And that's the real crux of this issue, is how do we attack the cyber problem, the cyber issues. So some of the other strategies to address that, we want to make sure that we balance tech skills with domain knowledge, and with leadership. So ensuring that we're valuing the domain skills that some of our people have. They may not have the security tech skills. We will go back through that training. But we also value their leadership skills and their soft skills, so that everybody feels comfortable. So this is a method for preparing for changes, because as was talked about earlier, we're losing so many, we're losing recs, we're losing people, our people are overworked. So making them as happy as possible is so important. But also it's very important, once we have these people that are highly trained, that we give our effort improving the accuracy of job descriptions, making sure that your job description is relevant and appropriate. It's not a canned job description and you're telling the person what they're going to do, and what they can expect, and kind of making sure that you are pulling in the right people and they understand what that job is. Developing an effective interview questions is important to ensure that once you've hired this person, they can do what they need to do. Leveraging onboarding training is important once they're in order to lower your costs. Having that onboarding training before you throw them into the fire and have them drinking from the water hose. Leveraging the onboarding training is so important, or leveraging security in that onboarding training, whatever those job tasks are. Valuing the ability to share knowledge over knowledge hoarding. I don't know if any of you have ever been at an organization where there's that one person who kind of knows everything, maybe the wizard, and however, you only get enough information that is just to tell you what to do here and not necessarily how to do it in the foundation. Sometimes in some organizations, you may have that person and they're kind of coddled, but it's ineffective for you and increases your costs. So valuing the ability to share knowledge and measuring the ability to share knowledge versus the ability for a person to do things on their own. We also need to worry about more talents moving to independent consulting and moving to contracting to get out of that day-to-day kind of exertion, or not feeling important, not feeling recognized. It's not that it's bad. However, in that case, you could break down the team. Now it's like one person that's coming in for a certain amount of hours. So even if you are going that track, you need to make sure that you're still building that team, even when there's, as I call it, free agency. Being open-minded, particularly with strong talent. So they may have certain specifics that they want to. I want to work remotely. I want to work these hours. I want to do this. And while they may be new to your organization, they have strong talent. They have a strong history. It's important that you recognize that so that they will be dedicated to you, and you still can pick the most effective people. So with all of this, starting from scratch is hard. So leveraging the NICE workforce framework, which breaks it down into different categories, particularly if at the top level that's setting this up, they're not security, they're going to roll out a program where they don't really have the skills. So leveraging the NICE cybersecurity workforce framework is great. It's broken down into tasks, knowledge, skills, and abilities. It's kind of changing right now, but it aligns really well with the industry. So ensuring that you have that tells people what they need to know. You are enabling them to make sure that they are able to do their job, they are able to get to the next level, and they are able to effectively protect your organization. So, sorry, my screen messed up. So what can we do at this point? What is the most effective thing? We talked about enabling the workforce. Internally, we enable our workforce by making sure that they have the training that they need, making sure they have the accessibility, the opportunity, ensuring that the skills gaps are addressed. We talked about I talked about the cybersecurity workforce development phases, ensuring that We're looking at different development work styles. We're looking at AI-driven workforce development that's built internally. We're looking at searching non-traditional paths. So at this point, what is our biggest struggle with this? Our biggest struggle is the training, the opportunities, the availability. So the call, I'm sorry, my screen is flickering. So the call to action for all are making sure that you stay involved. If you are a hiring manager, ensuring that you're making sure that your teams are developed, using good practices, enabled. You're looking in those areas that you can look, but also making sure that you're contributing into areas that allow people to do these sort of things. So GrimmCon is free. I see that you are sponsoring Black Girls Code. There's a lot of other organizations, even if you're not hiring, that you can contribute to make sure that we're building this cybersecurity workforce. You can also contribute by submitting to NIST in response for some of their papers that have been developed. And you can volunteer for training on your own.
Thank you so much. Looks like we do have a question here for you. Do you know of any incentive available or planned? Is there any incentive available or planned for companies to offer training or apprenticeships?
I know of a couple of organizations. Some are just starting. One has already started and is working with a couple of companies on these apprenticeships. I actually believe it's a paid apprenticeship, but Rapid Ascent is one of them. They do both the train first, pay once you have a job. So I would definitely take a look at Rapid Ascent. I don't know of any on the software development side. They do SOC. And there's a couple of others that have SOC. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I can send you a few of those companies that I know of. And I will say, ask about it in your area. So I've reached out to our apprenticeship, apprenticeship coordinator here in this area of North Carolina. They work through the community college, and they have the traditional apprenticeships, but I've been in talks with them about what is needed to start an apprenticeship program here. It's a slow process, so I don't know when I'll have more info, but I would say go, and there may be things that are already in the works in your area. My two biggest recommendations for those that want to enter into security or get to where they want to be is, one is read and watch. So read as much as you can, stay current. There's so much information available that you can capture just by following LinkedIn, following on Twitter, YouTube. And the second part is networking. People underestimate the value of networking. But I don't remember when I've got a job that wasn't through networking, where someone connected to someone I know on LinkedIn and they reached out to me. So it's so valuable. And I would add a third thing. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of trends of people who want to be in cybersecurity or a specific field, that as they're learning, they're sharing their journey, and they are gaining so much popularity. So whether you're just starting out, sharing every time, making sure you share what you know, because people will come and help you as well.